Hello, welcome to Verbling. Hi there. I'm teacher Oakley, and for the next hour, we are going to be very focused on learning about how to use the past continuous verb tense. Okay, I will explain a few basics about the verb tense, how it is formed and such, and then we will look at specific uses of the verb tense, and you, the students, will practice creating your own sentences to reflect that specific use. In addition, there's a number of very useful tips and points that I'll be bringing up as we go along to make sure you're correctly using the verb tense. Okay, let me welcome students to the class to get started. Hello, Rebecca.
Hello, good morning, how are you?
Good morning, well, good afternoon. I'm okay.
Well, sorry, yes, good afternoon for you, yes, sorry, yeah, you're right.
Great, it's quite all right.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, well, good to see you in class. Salvatore,
Thank you.
always a pleasure to see you as well. Hi, Salvatore.
Hi, Hockley. Good morning. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Nader is also with us. Hello, Nader. Hi there, hi there. Hi again. And Melina has joined us. Hello, Melina.
Hello.
Hi there. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Thank you for asking.
Sure. Well, happy to have you here. Where are you from, Melina?
From Italy, but in this moment I live in Spain.
Okay. Spain, Italy, somewhere on the continent. Okay. Terrific. All right. Let's get to work. I'm going to do a screen share here and talk to you guys a little bit about, first of all, the form of the past continuous, which is as follows. Depending on subject-verb agreement, of course, we're going to use was or were. The cat was, the cats were. Okay, singular was and plural were. Past tense of the verb to be plus the present participle. The present participle, aka the ing form of the verb. So the present participle is the verb plus ing. That's what you can, what is known as the present participle, or the continuous form, whatever you want to call it. Okay, what does it look like in a sentence? It looks like this. In a positive sentence, you, subject noun, followed by the verb, were studying. Okay, and then we have another clause here. When she called, this is very common. We'll get to this usage in just a little bit. So there it is in the question form, as always. In English, regardless of the verb tense, we are going to transpose or reverse the first auxiliary and the subject noun. So you and were switch places. So there you go. Were you studying when she called? In the negative statement form, notice placement of not will follow the first auxiliary. You were not studying when she called. Okay. In this case, it is most common for native speakers to use the contracted form weren't. You weren't studying when she called. I would suggest to all English language learners that you practice making sure that when you're speaking, you actually use the contractions, because native speakers do. And it really doesn't matter how how formal the speaking occasion is. The general rule is speaking is a little less formal, and we use contractions. In writing, contractions are okay for informal writing, but for formal writing, such as business letters and contracts, or for a university essay or other academic writing, you should use full form. Enough about that. Let's get back to the past continuous tense. A very common usage for the past continuous is to express the idea of an interrupted action in the past. This is very common. It's used a lot when we tell a story about something that happened. Yeah, it happens a lot. You can see by the diagram. In the diagram here, the red line, okay, that shows duration, a long period of time or longer period of time, is actually representing the past continuous verb tense. The little purple X is the interrupted action, and actually it would be a simple past verb tense. Or the little purple X here in this diagram could also be a specific time in the past, in September 1984, whatever. Okay. Past continuous used to indicate that a longer action in the past, the red line, was interrupted. The interruption is usually a shorter action in the simple past. It can be a real interruption or an interruption in time. As I said, it's going to look like this. I was watching TV. That's one clause, obviously with the past continuous. The second clause, when she called. I was watching TV, the red line here. When she called, the purple X here. Okay, so that's how that works. Doesn't matter. In this usage, you're obviously going to need two clauses because you're talking about two separate actions. Quite often done by a different subject noun. So you may see the subordinate clause second, as in the example. You may see the subordinate clause first. Just remember, if it's a subordinate clause with a time subordinator, like when or while or during or whatever, as soon as, remember, if the clause starts with one of those and you put it first, you need to have a comma. Okay, when the phone rang, she was writing a letter. All right. While we were having the picnic, it started to rain. Please note. Take special note of when. When she called, simple past. When the phone rang, simple past. Notice when we change our subordinator to while is followed by the continuous tense. It usually is, because the meaning of the word while itself, it means during a time, so it makes sense. When means at a specific time. When did you arrive? 3 o'clock. All right. What were you doing when the earthquake started? Okay, in the question form there. I was listening to my iPod, so I didn't hear the fire alarm. You're not listening to me. Here's a negative, okay? You were not listening to me when I told you to turn the oven off. When I told you, past tense. Okay, lots and lots and lots of examples here. Okay, what were you doing when you broke your leg? I was snowboarding. Notice that he doesn't need to, in conversational English, you don't need to repeat all the information. Nor do we ever, really. So it's not necessary to say, I was snowboarding when I broke my leg. It's not necessary. You both know that. It's already been mentioned. So even though it's not there, the interrupting action, it is understood. So we're still using the past continuous tense here. Let's try this out. Nader, at your will, go ahead and create a sentence in the chat box if you would like to, and I'll get to it. I'll get to it when I get to it. I'll get to it in just a second. Rebecca, let me talk to you for a second. Can you try this out? Try making a sentence. I don't care if you create a positive sentence, negative sentence, or question, whatever you want to do, to show an interrupted action in the past. Go ahead.
But do I need to write it or just saying loud?
You can just say it. Nader doesn't have a microphone, or he can't use his microphone.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Well, I was taking a verbing class when someone knocked on the door.
Okay. Here. Can you see it? This is all good. The first clause is all good. I was taking a verbaling class. All right. Past continuous. Do you see the problem, Rebecca?
The problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When someone
The
knocks. Problem.
Yeah, no. The past?
Yes. It needs to be
yeah. Well.
Right. Or doing when you broke your leg. Writing an email when the computer went off. Past tense. We got off. Okay, last night someone stole. Past tense. Okay? Definitely. The other interrupting action has to be in the simple past. Okay, Salvatore, why don't you give it a shot? Give it a try.
I was talking to you when your uncle interrupted me.
Uncle? Yes?
Yes, uncle.
Okay, and here we have the verb interrupt as the interrupting action. Wow, what a coincidence. Okay, terrific. Couldn't be more to the point of the usage, really. That's about as much to the point as you could possibly be, Salvatore. Okay, good job. Let me see if I can move Nader's sentence over here to the share board here. Let's see, a little copy paste action. Okay, here we go. The mother was crying. All right, so far so good. When the police officer came and clarified that her son is actually still alive. My goodness, where did you get this? From the news or something? Okay. All right. This is interesting. Right out of your head, huh? Okay. All right. Wow. Very creative. You should be a writer. You should be an author. All right. The police, two verbs, came and clarified. Yes, absolutely. You have one other subject noun in your subordinate clause. That's perfectly fine for there to be two interrupting actions performed by the police officer, the one subject noun. Totally fine. Okay, and then we actually have another clause here. All right. Okay, a third clause in the sentence. That's perfectly fine. You can keep adding clauses to the sentence until the world ends. It's perfectly fine. All right. Good job. Nice complex sentence there. And that it is. It's a complex sentence with one independent clause and two dependent clauses. All right. Okay, Melina, you've been sitting patiently and quietly. It's your time to shine.
Okay. I was sleeping when phone rang. When my phone rang.
Okay, hang on. I'll get back to that. Yeah. Either way is perfectly correct. My phone, the phone. All right. I was sleeping when my phone rang. Fine. Another classic example of interrupting action. Okay. Excuse me. All right, let's try the same thing. Really? Basically, same thing. Notice the diagram is exactly the same. But this time around, a specific time is going to be the purple X. All right? Instead of a shorter action in the simple past, we're going to mention a specific time in our sentences, such as or like this. Last night at 6 p.m., I was eating dinner. Okay. What is the difference between these two sentences? Hang on, wait. Wait, let me put two sentences up there. Okay. Last night at 6 p.m., I ate dinner. What is the difference? Who can tell me? Does anybody know? Any idea? Rebecca, do you know what the difference is?
Well, last night at 6 p.m. I was eating dinner, and you need to. The first one is telling us what the person was doing at 6, you know?
That's right. Like the diagram here.
Whereas the other one
Uh-huh.
is telling us what time the person had the dinner. So it's different concept. It's the same but different, you know?
I know. Well, I know.
Yeah,
You know. Yeah, in the first one, it's just as the diagram says. We don't know when he started eating dinner, but he's somewhere in the middle of that continuous action. Maybe he started 5 minutes ago. Maybe he started 20 minutes ago. We don't know. But he's not finished yet. That we know. In the second one, using the simple past, it probably means he began eating dinner at 6 p.m. Okay, that's the difference.
Yeah.
Some cases with the meaning of the verb, like, okay, if you use the verb finish, for example, obviously the meaning of finish is to end something. So if you're actually using the verb finish by doing this with the simple past, obviously you're talking about when the action stopped, because that's what the word means. So usually it's going to be when the action started, but it could be when the action ended as well. Okay. At midnight, we were still driving through the desert. Okay, when we use times, it is very, very common to express or exaggerate the concept of an action that's taking a lot of time. It's very common in these sentences to see still in the sentence. That's kind of often the entire point of the sentence is to express the information that some action took a long time. At midnight, we were still driving through the desert. All right. Yesterday at this time, I was sitting at my desk at work. And now here I am in prison. Okay. All right. Important, related. We'll try some examples here in just a second. In the simple past, a specific time is used to show when an action began or finished. In the past continuous, a specific time only interrupts the action. All right, well, here is what we were just talking about. Okay, so let's try this out with a specific time using our model sentences here. At midnight yesterday at this time, a specific time. Okay. Let's have Salvatore start us off this time. Salvatore, by the way, Nader, go ahead, and whenever you wish to, you can try a sentence with a specific time. Salvatore, give this a try.
Okay. Okay, I try. Yesterday at 7 a.m. I was waking up to go to work.
Yesterday at 7 a.m. That's interesting. I was waking up to go to work. Okay, I have to ask you, Salvatore, does it take you a long time to wake up?
Probably it's better getting up to go to work.
Okay. Probably you're right. Okay, your first sentence was a little bit debatable because generally when we say wake up, you're talking about that kind of instant action where you open your eyes. Frankly, I would argue that it's okay because Salvatore, speaking personally, I stumble around the house and I walk into walls and I can't really make a complete sentence until I've had a cup of coffee and I've been awake for 15 minutes or so. So it really does take me a long time to wake up. I would argue for it, but this is probably better. Yes. You're
Okay.
somewhere in the process of getting up. This is better, definitely. Okay. Nader's skipped out on us for a little bit. So Melina, why don't you give it a try?
Yesterday early morning, I was running on the beach.
Yesterday early morning, I was running on the beach. Should put a comma here in front of this time clause. Yesterday early morning. One small thing here, Melina. We normally put it in this order. Hang on. Whoops. We normally say. Oops. Hang on. Okay. At 8 o'clock yesterday. At 8 o'clock tomorrow. Early morning yesterday. Like that. Okay. So we have the more specific time. Often, I mean, look at the sentence before, yesterday at 7 p.m. 7 a.m. I could also say 7 a.m. yesterday if I'm doing it without the. Okay, if I'm doing it without the preposition yesterday at 7 a.m., I can say 7 a.m. yesterday. If I want to basically I'm using 7 a.m. as an adjective. 7 a.m. yesterday. Okay, here I'm using early morning as an adjective. Early morning yesterday. I could do it with a preposition. I could say yesterday in the early morning. All right.
Yes.
Then I'm using a prepositional phrase as an adjective. 6 to 1, half a dozen of the other. It doesn't really make any difference which way you do it. But anyway. Anyway, as a time, as the interrupting action, nevertheless, it's perfect for the use that we were trying to reflect. So good job. Rebecca, why don't you give it a shot here?
Yeah. Well, that was almost my example. I need to change it. Okay. Yeah, because mine was just early in the morning. Okay, I'm going. I start feeling a strong headache when I was cooking this afternoon.
Okay, I
Start, I think it's past. It should be
started.
past.
All right.
Started. I started.
Okay. I started feeling a what?
A strong headache.
Stomach ache? Stomach ache?
Headache. No, headache.
Oh, headache.
Headache. Headache. No, strong. Okay. A headache.
Strong headache. You can have a strong headache if you want to.
Okay. No, I mean, no, it's okay.
Right.
When
When?
I was, yes, I was cooking my dinner.
Okay, well this is the last usage. This is an interrupting action. Yes, this is an interrupting action. Okay, the interrupted action, simple past tense. The one problem with this sentence here is it should not be when I was cooking dinner. It should be while I was cooking.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
It sounds better. Yeah, you're right.
Mm-hmm. And the other
Sounds
thing is,
better.
we were trying to get a specific time at midnight yesterday at this time. There's no specific time here. So this is fine. This is a fine sentence, but it's not this use. It's use number one. It's this one, an interrupted action. Okay. Anyway, so how could we change that? Well, very simple. I had a headache at 8 o'clock while I was cooking dinner. Oh, that sounds weird.
Well, no, it's better in the afternoon, late in the afternoon.
Okay. Uh, okay. All right. You can always, you can do both, actually. Okay. Fine. You could actually have both. All right. So this is a good example to make that point. All right. You could have both an action and a time. Oh, all right. Well, there you go. Okay. All right. Next action. Number 3, parallel actions, as in parallel lines. When you use the past continuous with two actions in the same sentence, the idea is that both actions are happening at the same time. For example, I was studying while he was making dinner. Okay. While Ellen was reading, Tim was watching television. Fine. Both actions of duration happening at the same time. Were you listening while he was talking? In a question form. I wasn't paying attention while I was writing the letter, so I made several mistakes. Okay. Notice the use of two parallel actions, and then another clause. I made several mistakes. Okay. So these are interrupting actions, mistakes, and even more than one. All right. So we're reflecting a couple different uses at the same time: parallel actions and an interrupting action. Okay. Thomas wasn't working, and I wasn't working either. Obviously, you could say Thomas and I weren't working. Might be easier there. Notice our last example. They were eating dinner, discussing their plans, and having a good time. There's no limit. You could have 8,000 parallel actions if you really wanted to. Okay. Let's try this out. Melina, give me a sentence with at least 2 parallel actions that take time. Melina, are you there?
Sorry. I was cleaning the house while my boyfriend was buying a ticket for Kamatum. Ticket plane. While my boyfriend was buying a ticket plane for Kamatum.
For what?
Come at home.
Oh my goodness, I don't know that place.
Came. Came at home.
Came at home. Came or come at home.
Come at present.
Okay. Okay. Okay, I thought you were giving me the name of some city I never heard of. Okay. Oops. Okay, let's talk about this for a minute. All right. The basic idea of 2 parallel actions, that you got right. All right. That concept is right there. I was cleaning the house while my boyfriend was buying. It's the rest we've got to talk about. Buying a ticket plane. What type of ticket is it? It's a plane ticket. So plane goes in the front because plane is being used here as an adjective. All right, to describe what kind of ticket it is. Okay. It's not what kind of plane is it. It's a ticket plane. It flies tickets around. No, it's a plane ticket. It's a ticket for planes. Okay. For coming home, buying a plane ticket. Two, not 4. 2, because you haven't
come back. Maybe come back. It's better.
Yes, that is better. To come back home. You don't need at home. Home is a kind of a special word in English. You don't need to say to home. You can say at home. I'm at home. Obviously, you can. But a lot of times you don't need any preposition. For example, to. You go to the store. You go to the mall. You go to the bathroom. You don't go to home. You just go home. So there's a lot of times you don't really need a preposition. All right, well, there you go. Buying a plane ticket to come back home. All right, that makes sense. All right. Rebecca, why don't you give it a try? Creating a sentence to show at least 2 parallel actions.
Okay.
Past tense.
I was watching TV when I saw travel agency ad.
Okay. All right. Okay.
And an idea of my next holidays came up.
Idea. I guess.
For my next holidays came up.
Okay, but what we don't have here is the continuous tenses here. I was looking for two past continuous tenses to show that two things were going on at the same time for a long period of time.
Ah, two different. Let me solve it this. I was watching TV, it's okay, when I
Yes.
saw a travel agency ad, and oof, an idea for my next work come up. Wild.
Where do you want the while?
Yeah, for my next wild came up. Whilst.
Are you saying while?
Whilst.
Whilst. Oh, fancy. Okay. Whilst. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's interesting. Okay.
No, not there, whilst. Whilst is after up. You know, it's the same as the like this. You know, an idea for my next holiday came up whilst.
Okay.
I was picturing myself, picturing.
Oh, picturing. Fixing yourself. Okay, picturing
Myself lying on the beach.
How do you spell lying? I can never spell that. Yeah.
On the beach. It's okay. It's better.
Okay. Well, there's so much here. I don't know. I have to step back and take a look.
Yeah.
Here.
Okay.
All right.
Go back.
I was watching TV when I saw a travel agency ad. Do we need the and here? And an idea for my next holiday came up. Whilst. Yes, that is a word, in case you were wondering. Whilst. It's very formal. It's very old English of you. Whilst I was picturing myself lying on the beach. Okay. Yeah, all right. There you go. Oh, my goodness.
Grammatically it's okay.
Grammatically, it's okay. And that's right. And in English, it is, in theory, anyway, in theory, it is possible to create a sentence and just keep adding clauses, dependent clauses, and independent clauses with the proper conjunctions. You can keep adding clauses forever and ever and ever and ever if you want to. But of course, it gets a little confusing after 170 clauses.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. That was wild, actually. All right. Salvatore, why don't you give it a try? Nader, you can feel free to give it a try if you want to. What we're doing is creating a sentence like this. I was studying while he was making dinner. Two parallel actions of duration, like as in here. Okay. Salvatore, you want to give it a try?
Okay. Could you explain me what were you saying while you were speaking with that? Sorry. Could you explain me what were you saying while you were speaking Italian with that Italian native speaker?
Let's take a look. Could you explain me? Okay, common mistake first, Salvatore. I hope you learn the past continuous, but I hope you learn this one as well. If I'm going to explain me, if you say, could you explain me, would have to say, well, yes, you're Salvatore, you're an Italian gentleman with a good sense of humor, and you attend my classes. I'm explaining you. So, actually, what you really want to say here, can you explain to me?
To me.
Okay. Not what were you saying. What here is not actually used to form a question. So our subject verb here, what you were saying. What here is not, it's actually being used as a conjunction. It's not a question, so you don't have to reverse the auxiliary and subject noun. All right? Could you explain to me what you were saying? Okay. Yes. Could you explain to me, this is another clause here, you see. What here is being used as a conjunction. While you were speaking Italian, with that Italian native speaker, okay. While you were speaking Italian. Yeah, that's it. It is a question, okay. Could you explain to me what you were saying? Okay. There you go. Like that. Yeah, that's it. Okay, very good. All right, that was interesting. Okay. There's sentences here. Let's take a quick look. Okay. Yep. Straightforward, no problem at all. I was listening to music while my wife was feeding the kids. Great. Okay. Moving on. Atmosphere. In English, we often use a series of parallel actions to describe the atmosphere of a particular time in the past. You'll read this in novels a lot. This will happen in novels. Now, a good writer will probably mix it up with some other verb tenses, talking about other elements of the background or the setting of the story. That's basically what we're talking about here, the setting or the background, so that you can get a feel for it. If you ever read I don't know if anybody here has ever read a screenplay. That's the written part of a film or a TV show. But if you ever read a screenplay, screenplays definitely do this. It's the part that people won't read, but you're going to see on the film. So what will, for example, a screenplay, what will it show? I walked in the office, several people were busily typing, some were talking on the phones, the boss was yelling directions, customers were waiting to be helped. One customer was yelling at a secretary and waving his hands, others were complaining to each other about the bad service. So if you can imagine, you know, preparing to shoot a movie, all of these things are going to be going on at once. That's the kind of atmosphere. And then the main characters are in the front of the screen while all of this stuff is going on behind them. All right, so you get the picture. It's to show the atmosphere. It's to show the background in which the main action happens. Okay, again, we would never be this wordy, you know, in speaking, but perhaps we might say one or two sentences kind of like this to kind of give somebody the idea of what was going on. All right. Well, obviously, these are all parallel actions, so we already did that, so there's no need to repeat that. So I'm going to move on to another meaning. Repetition and irritation with always. Something that happened in the past, notice the diagram. It's not happening anymore in the present. It happened in the past over and over and over again. Okay. We can, in conjunction with always or constantly, maybe never in the right context, okay, expresses the idea that something was irritating or shocking, surprising, often happened in the past. The concept is very similar to the expression used to. It's now, here it says, but with negative emotion, I need to edit this. But often with negative emotion. You can, for example, at a funeral, if you're talking about, the dearly departed, the poor guy who just died, it would be perfectly normal to say, he was always helping people, and he was constantly smiling. He was forever in a good mood. He was always helping people. Okay, obviously, this is not negative. It doesn't have to be negative. It often is. And, okay. Um, in order to create the idea of it's irritating or shocking, you have to do it right. You have to use always. You have to use constantly. In its proper place. These are adverbs, so, all right, in its proper adverb place. And most of all, if you want to pull this off as a use of the past continuous, you have to have the correct intonation. All right, you're complaining. So she was always coming to class late. He was constantly talking. He annoyed everyone. If you get my point, my intonation kind of gives the idea of my annoyance. I really didn't like them because they were always complaining. All right. Anyway, that's basically the concept here of doing this. The concept is you're showing something that somebody did over and over again. Again, very close to used to. She used to come to class late all the time. I could say the same sentence like that. She used to come to class late all the time. What's lacking when I use that sentence, there's no judgment. It's very neutral. She used to come to class late all the time. It doesn't sound like I really care one way or another. When I use this form with the past continuous, it's very clear that it's annoying. She was always coming to class late. Okay? The always or constantly is there to kind of exaggerate the over and over and over again aspect. Okay, we may or we may not come back to that and try that out, but there's a couple other points that I really need to get to before the class ends. So let's move on for now. When or while? While and when. Let's talk about while and when. Clauses are groups of words which have meaning. All right, yes, they are. Independent clauses are also known as simple sentences. Dependent clauses need an independent clause with them in order to have a complete meaning. Okay. Some clauses begin with the word when, and others begin with while. Okay. When is, as I said earlier, usually followed by the simple past, and while is usually followed by the past continuous. So there you go. While expresses the idea of during that time, so it only makes sense. I was studying when she called. While I was studying, she called. So it's very, you can swap the sentence there. You can change it around using when in one clause and then while in another clause. You can always do that, pretty much always. Okay, another important point that I have to bring up because we're talking about continuous verbs. There are verbs which are stative verbs. They describe a state. They describe the way things are in the universe, the state of the universe as we know it. These types of verbs cannot be used with ing or the present participle. They cannot be used as in any continuous tense, past, present, or future. Perfect continuous, nothing, nowhere. Passive, nothing, nothing, nowhere. These include verbs that talk about your emotions. That's the state of your emotions. words like love, hate, adore, like. It cannot be used in continuous tenses. Other verbs that talk about like ownership, owning, to own, to have, to possess. You can't use those words with ing. You simply cannot. You can't use them as a past continuous. I don't know, maybe a gerund, but as a noun, but not as in any kind of continuous verb tense. There are also mixed verbs. These are verbs that have more than one meaning. In one meaning, they can be used with ing. In another meaning, they cannot. For example, the verb to be itself is a mixed verb. You cannot say Jane was being at my house when you arrived. You can't do it. And it sounds really, really weird to a native speaker. What you can say is Jane was at my house when you arrived. So you revert back to a simpler form, to the simple form, simple past here. Okay? Now, the verb to be is a mixed verb because I can say my children are being good, because I mean they're the way they're behaving, the way they're acting. He's being crazy. All right, he's acting crazy. Different meaning. I don't mean acting here. I don't mean Jane was acting at my house. It just means she existed at my house. So, can't do it. So, there will be cases where you will create sentences with the uses, which we have been looking at today, but you will not be using present or past continuous. It does have the meaning of an interrupted action, so don't worry about that. The meaning is still there. It's still understood. All right. The adverbs. Again, adverbs that show frequency or any other adverbs that you want to use. You were diligently studying when she called, or whatever. You were just studying. You were still studying. You were always studying. Doesn't matter. Adverbs, if they're acting on the verb, remembering that adverbs do have many functions. They modify other adjectives. They modify other adverbs. If you're modifying the verb, this is the safe place to put an adverb right here in front of the verb. You can sometimes move an adverb around in a sentence. It is definitely possible. Sometimes the sentence will actually sound better. But, on the other hand, sometimes if you move that adverb around, it will change the meaning of the sentence, or it will totally destroy the sentence. So, just so you know, when in doubt, if you have any doubt at all, it's always safe to put it here. All right, now the last thing we need to look at is the passive of the past continuous. We have looked at plenty of active sentences. The subject noun, the verb, the salesman, subject noun, the verb was helping, object noun, the customer. All right, when the thief came into the store. In a passive sentence, notice that the object noun now becomes the subject noun. In a passive sentence, the action happens to the subject. So the customer was being helped by the salesman when the thief came into the store. A passive sentence we don't even need to know who did the act, who was helping the customer. It doesn't matter who's doing the action. It's not even necessary. Notice the form. The main verb is the past participle. Every passive verb tense, the main verb will be the past participle. Doesn't matter what passive, present simple, passive, present perfect, passive, future simple, doesn't matter. The main verb is always the past participle. The remaining verbs to be, in this case, the verb to be here is actually reflecting or showing that it is a past continuous. Notice was being, was helping. Okay, this is what the part of the verb that shows us the verb tense. So there it is. The customer was being helped when the thief came into the store. Alrighty. Rebecca, you want to try a passive sentence?
Yeah.
Past
Yeah.
continuous. Okay.
The car is being the car is being washed by the children in the garden.
Okay. Now.
Oh.
Okay. This is the present continuous past. The passive.
You want okay. You want it in past. So it's just change is the car was being washed by the children in the garden when a storm arose or came up.
A storm.
When a storm came up.
I like came up. When a storm came up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Great. Okay. That's perfect. Yes. Excellent example. All right. Good job. Okay. Salvatore, you want to give it a try?
Okay, I try. The taxi driver was being waited when the customer got into the taxi.
Okay, I'm just not sure your verb here. The taxi driver was being waited?
Waited, yes.
That doesn't really make sense. How does a wait happen to you? The taxi driver was waiting. I don't know how a wait happens to somebody. A person can wait. How can a wait happen to somebody?
Waited
okay.
He waited to arrive the customer. No. To begin to work.
Yeah. Well, that doesn't work. It's not possible. It's not always possible to take. Not every verb can function as a passive. The verb wait can't really work. It doesn't make sense to use the verb wait as a passive. It actually just doesn't work. Something was being waited. That doesn't. A car can be washed. The action happens to the car, but to wait is a concept of somebody standing there. So somebody has to do the action. The action doesn't happen to somebody else. Waiting does not happen to you. You wait. You're not waited. You can be waited on in a restaurant by a waiter, but that's the only way. You could say, okay, he was being waited on at the cafe. You could say that, Salvatore. That would be possible. But maybe the meaning of wait, I waited in line at the bank for 2 hours. You cannot use that verb as a passive. It just doesn't work. It doesn't make sense. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I am out of time, overtime. Gotta go. Thank you very much for your time.